Hi guys, my name is Gabrielle Chisholm and I'm coming to you today to present to you my peeps. So, like I said, my name is Gabrielle Strickland-Chism, maiden name Strickland. Highest level of education is a Master's of Ed in Middle Grades Education. I'm currently a sixth grade social studies teacher at Carrollton Upper Elementary School in Carrollton, Georgia. So I'm a native of Carrollton, Georgia. So I was born at Tanner Medical Center, Carrollton. My birthday is November 25th, 1994, and I'm African American, and my language is English. So, on to my mom and dad. So, my dad's name is Dwight Strickland. He is a corrections officer. He was a graduate of Carrollton High School. He has two other children beside me. So, he has my brother Dwight Jr. and Anterica. And then also, he was born at Tanner Medical Center in Carrollton. He was born on March 20th, 1964. He is also African American and he speaks English. So, an interesting hobby for my dad is he baked in high school. So, he was very, very great at baking and almost went to school for baking, but ultimately just did not do it. But he was amazing. He is and was an amazing baker. My mother's name is Deborah McPherson Strickland, maiden name McPherson. So she has an associate's degree in computer information systems and also network specialist. She only had one child, which was me. She is currently a data and analytics manager at Tanner Medical Center in Carrollton. My mother was a native of Villarica, so she was born in Tanner Medical Center in Villarica. Her birthday is January 31st, 1970. My mother is African American. Her first language and her only language is English. And another interesting talent for her is my mother bakes as well. But my mother did not start baking until I don't want to say until after I was born, but she has been baking a little bit less time ultimately than my father, but both of them are very, very good bakers and well-known bakers in the community. So on to my father's parents. So my grandfather's name is Bobby Strickland. He went to Carrollton High School, but when I tried to get information on whether he graduated or not, we were not exactly sure. So I don't think my grandfather graduated from Kelton High School. He was born on October 18th, 1939. He is African American. He was born in Carroll County and he worked at South Wire, which is a well-known wire plant where we are from. So he worked there I think pretty much his whole career. He even has a street named out after him for how long he served at Southwire. And then my grandmother's name is Etha Strickland. And she didn't go further than elementary school. She is African American. She was born in Hurt County, and my grandmother worked at Southwire as well. So I'm not sure if that's where she met my grandfather. I'm pretty sure she met him before that, but they both worked at Southwire, and I'm pretty sure at some time they worked there together. So between my grandmother and my grandfather, they have seven children. So they have my dad Dwight, sorry, my uncle Charles, my uncle Randy, and my uncle Marty. And then I have my aunt Jackie, my aunt Melissa, and my aunt Latanya. So it is seven of them in all. My grandfather's father's name is Bobby Lee Strickland. So my grandfather was a junior, and then his let's see. Let me see if I have his mother. Yes, his mother's name was Nellie Johnson. So my grandfather's mom's name is Nellie, and my grandfather's father's name is Bobby Lee Johnson. And then I have my grandmother, Ether Strickland. Um, her mom's name was Eddie Ray Emery, and then her father's name was Charlie Hurd, and I was just unable to really gather much information on them. My grandmother kind of just doesn't remember to tell me, and neither does my dad. So on to my mother's side of the family. So my mother father's name was Edward McPherson Sr. He worked at Walker Meats and he was born in Alabama. So it was a minute before we really figured out that my grandfather was Edward. I always knew of my grandfather as Joe because that was my grandmother's husband. So I know much more about my Papa Joe than I do about my grandfather Edward. But I do know that he had a host of other children, but I don't know all of their names. I do know of my Uncle Edward, and also my mom has a sister named Sonia as well. I do know of those two. So on to my grandmother. Her name is Barbara Brown. She worked at Dixon Converting Paper Productions. So she has four girls. So my mom, Deborah, my aunt Sharita, my aunt Melissa, and my aunt Demetrius. So my mom's side of the family is full of women, and my dad's side of the family is mostly men. So my mama was born at Tanner Villarica. My grandmother was born at Tanner Villarica on November 23rd, 1951. And she is African American, and her first and only language is English. So my my grandfather Edward, his father's name was Charles McPherson, and his mother's name was Peggy Jane McPherson. So my grandmother's mother's name was Moselle Allman. So she was born on May 4th, 1925. She works in food prep. So she has a host of children. It was 20 of them in all, but I'm gonna name as many of them as I possibly can. Some of them passed away at birth. So it is Ruby, Clifford, Barbara, Betty, Robert, Puny, Tony, Charlotte, Carol, Norman, Thurman, and Faye. So that's as many as I can name for right now. My grandfather's name was Robert C. Johnson. He was born in 1927. So, funny story, when I asked my grandmother what was his occupation, she told me he was too busy stealing cows to feed all the children that he had. So, I said, Grandma, I'm going to put that as his occupation for real. But I do not know too much about him because he was deceased by the time I was born. But I did get to spend a lot of time with my grandmother Moselle, and we were very close. Um, with funny story about my grandfather Robert though. He has a host of children in Alabama about around the same age as my grandmother. So he had 8 children by my great grandmother. And what he did was he named them the same name as his children in Carrollton. So there's another Barbara, Betty, Robert. I think another, I don't know if there's another Tony. There may be another Clifford. But I really enjoyed learning about my family and sharing with you guys today. Thank you so much.